Do not forsake me, O Lord, O my God, be not far from me. Make haste to help me, O Lord, my salvation. These words vividly describe the spiritual pain of Jesus, who, carrying the sins of humanity on the cross, was abandoned by God. Here, do not forsake me, O Lord, points to the organic pain, that is, the pain of being completely abandoned by God, that Jesus suffered while carrying the sins of humanity. That is, Jesus was one with God the Father from before eternity and never had an interruption in the communion of love. However, when Jesus covered his whole body with the iniquities of humanity on the cross, God, who was just, had to see Jesus as sin itself and look away. This speaks of Jesus' pain and sorrow regarding this. For example, theologically, hell means the place where God's grace and love are completely blocked. Therefore, for Jesus to be abandoned by God on the cross means that he suffered in our place the punishment of separation from God that we, being sinners, had to suffer eternally in the lake of fire of hell. As a result, we, the sinners, received the grace of not being eternally abandoned by God. That is, it can be said that the spiritual alienation of Jesus being abandoned by God became our reconciliation. Also, here, be not far from me is a plea containing the longing for restoration, cried out by Jesus in a state of spiritual separation from God. That is, it is a plea to break the power of death and live again, return to the bosom of the Father, and fully restore the glorious union between God the Father and God the Son. In other words, it shows that the punishment of spiritual separation from God that Jesus suffered on the cross was not just something abstract, but a real event. Make haste to help me, O Lord, my salvation. These words indicate the entrustment of the soul of Jesus and the assurance of resurrection to God at the last moment of death. Here, the expression make haste goes beyond the meaning of shortening the time of the pain of the cross. It is a request not to let the forces of Satan, intoxicated with the sense of victory, have a long time, and to manifest God's justice quickly. To this, God responded with resurrection after 3 days. That is, we see that God did not lock Jesus in the grave for a long time, but helped him quickly by breaking the power of death and making him live again after 3 days. Also, here, O Lord, my salvation indicates the assurance of the glorious victory of resurrection. That is, although Jesus is dying helplessly hanging on the cross, he proclaims rather that God is the Savior who will resurrect Jesus himself. In fact, the name Jesus itself contains the meaning Jehovah is salvation. Therefore, the O Lord, my salvation that Jesus cried out here is the final scene in which he completes and declares his mission and identity as the Messiah who will complete the salvation of humanity through his own death and resurrection. How is this? In the eyes of the world, Jesus' cross might look like a miserable failure and curse. However, we see that Jesus, even in such total darkness, proclaims, O Lord, my salvation. We confirm that such a proclamation was a glorious proclamation that looked ahead to the victory of resurrection, or after 3 days, he would break the power of death and live again.